Hello and welcome to Jessie Bear Book Club. Today we are reviewing Preston Jacobs' Alayne, second chapter from Winds of Winter, his fanfiction. I am very curious to see how Preston will do with any flirting scenes and with a young female character. So far, I think he writes male characters slightly better than female characters, if his Daenerys chapter is anything to go by. I want to start this review by saying Preston did an amazing job with the joust scene. You can tell he put so much thought into it, and it reminded me of the first joust we ever see in a Game of Thrones. Clapping ovation, brilliantly written. Sansa/Alayne, I'm going to call her Sansa throughout this review because she will always be Sansa in my head. Suffering from bats in her tummy was really good. Ties into her link to Harrenhal and everything else. Harry the heir being a bad jouster was really amusing and I thought correct, though it does give an idea of what Preston actually thinks about Harry. If you've watched any of his videos about Harry, he's very derogatory. And the Mystery Knight, I couldn't figure out who it was. I did think it was Oberyn's squire until the very end. I don't know why. The Maester's conversation that Sansa accidentally overhears while playing rats and cats, I thought was a little unusual. I think Preston thinks the Maesters know far more than they actually do. And I think that ties into having read the books and knowing all the stories. You forget what people know and how slowly information passes in a medieval world. So I don't think the Maesters know about Dany and her dragons. They of course know about young Griff and everything going on in the south, but half a world away, I don't really believe it. Sansa having a crush on Daemon, the sister man, was really cute. She deserves to have someone she actually likes pay attention to her. And watching Maya Stone and Sansa enjoying the joust together was really good. I kind of wish they would be better friends because Ned and Robert were such good friends. However, I doubt that Sansa ever looks drab, and thinking herself drab compared to Maya, in my mind, made very little sense. The news coming about Kevin Lannister's death was perfectly timed and very book accurate. It is more in accordance with how news would travel when you compare it to the Maesters knowing about Dany and her dragons. Sansa having learnt to bribe the servants. Now that is a skill I hope she gets to use again. It also leans into her character growth and learning from Littlefinger. This whole chapter I was waiting for Harry the heir to be rapey, and I wasn't surprised he was. It was well written. However, the fact he died at the end of the chapter, I mean, I know it was meant to be shocking, but it should have been more shocking. Does that make sense? Like, guts and blood should have sprayed over Sansa or something to that effect. I still personally think Sansa will not realise what a dick Harry is until their wedding night. Now we get along to Miranda Royce confronting Sansa so publicly. I think if the Royces are going to confront Sansa and Littlefinger, they will not do it in public. It will be done privately so they can manipulate the situation. And I don't think Miranda has the brain capacity to figure out it is Sansa. At least not with Sansa giving some other hint of who she actually is. The end of the chapter, with the black fish being the Mystery Knight, was a perfect surprise. I kind of wanted Sweetrobin to blurt out that Alayne was Sansa, so that could really put the screws to Littlefinger and his plan. Or for perhaps the Blackfish to turn around, see Alayne, and realise who she looks like. I personally think the Blackfish will join young Griff, but this is acceptable as well. I think the Blackfish will want to get as far away from the Riverlands and the Vale of Arryn and fight the Lannisters who murdered most of his family. And he isn't overly fond of Robert Arryn, is he? So I don't get why he would turn up. I mean, I do, it's his great nephew, but in the same breath, I'm like, is this a story? Is this how I want it to go? The table talk about the Frey Civil War was great. That was one of my favourite original Preston Jacobs theories that got me into his channel. So the fact that it was brought up so publicly, and I think it is one of his theories that is actually going to come into effect during the real Winds of Winter. So amazing, it was brought up again. Overall, this was the first Preston chapter I really felt could have been a George R.R. Martin chapter. There were some little points where I personally wouldn't have had the story go that way, but I think I'm being more pernickety because it isn't George writing. Does that make sense? But he is really coming along. Preston is finding his groove and I'm loving it. Subscribe so I can rule over the tyrannical YouTube algorithm with grace, and so you can catch all my other A Song of Ice and Fire theory videos. I have a ton of them, and I will be reviewing every Preston Jacobs chapter as it comes out, and I'll try and stay more on the ball with them. Like and leave me a comment with your thoughts on this Preston chapter. You can also follow me on Instagram at Lady Jessica Odell. Until next time, winter is coming. Bye.